Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome to a rare treat of a replay. This is a 1v1. We have a Major General, Audi Vide Tache versus another Major, Haymaker. We're on Highway to Seoul, and it's always interesting to see very good players square off against each other. I'm always interested in what I can learn, what sort of tactics they use, what sort of decks they use. And speaking of the deck, the video was sent in by Haymaker. Arguably it's red 4, or at least opposing for Team 2, but in this case it's a blue on blue match. So what you're going to find is that Haymaker is using blue 4 units as much as Audi Vide Tache is using. I'm gonna keep calling him Audi from now. He's using blue 4 units just as well. Now the video was sent in by Haymaker and he's using a blue 4 mechanized deck 1985. Very interesting limitation. And he said that the game is close all the way up to the end, with good plays on both sides. The game showcases a unique deck that makes 1985 playable against full game decks. So what I'll do is first go through the replay, and then after that have a look at the deck, because Haymaker was kind enough to provide that. Now, it's a big map to cover in your, on your own. A lot of terrain. And arguably the Charlie Bravo line, let's say, or Echo Delta Golf. This is where you're going to see most of the action. But the way that I usually play this in a 10v10, you only have a very, let's say, narrow or narrow-ish area of operations. You would arguably fight from here to there, or have a line from here to there. But these guys, no, they have to manage everything. Beyond that, you still have all of the left flank of the map, or right flank, depending on how you have it zoomed in. And that is a lot of terrain that is pretty much wasted, unless somebody has the patience to, for example, drive around with a bunch of units, or fly around in a worst case. So you can still have some use out of this left area, but I don't think that we're going to be seeing a lot of units going that way. Now, as for deployment, let's see what Haymaker's using. AMX-10 RC, Bradley's, M1A1 Abrams, Nachmatschon, Flakpanzer Gepard, Merkava 2, Chaparral. It's weird to see all these units operating together under one roof, as it were. All under the command of one unit. A couple of Zeldas, Marder 1A2s, Bradley's, and an Abrams. Again, an M1A1. So seemingly they have a good amount of points. Now, before I forget to mention it, this is Conquest. So it is going to be reliant on pushing. There's no real camping, unless maybe you hold the advantage. But even in that case, I don't think there's going to be a lot of camping, because these guys are very competitive and determined to win. You can see that he's putting out a couple of defensive units, a couple of Jupiters here on the flank. Those are mostly there as picket lines, I think, making sure he does not get detected. Now, these players are probably a hell of a lot better than I am, so my commentary could be wrong in this case, and they could be doing things that I don't even understand yet. They could be employing tactics that I have never thought of, so it's going to be definitely a learning experience for me as well. On the other side, we have Audi, who's pushing in with a couple of helicopters. We got a Little Bird and a DAP. He might be trying to screen Foxtrot from early capture, and he has captured it himself. He is now in control of this sector thanks to a quick drop-off from a TACOM. It looks like the CV... Oh, is there a CV on the move, actually? Yeah, it could be in one of these transports. Yeah, there we go. The Nachmatschon is carrying a command infantry. The helicopters are currently screening, did their job, couldn't find anything and are pulling back. And in the meanwhile, interestingly, Haymaker just continues down the road. I wonder where exactly he wants to end up. Sure enough, the highway is the quickest way to get to most locations. But at some point you're going to have to split off. And you don't always have the accessibility up here, so the cliffs are going to shield you. That means that this is a way up, and that's a way up, but you're getting awfully close to blue 4. I'm going to keep the game in neutral viewer, by the way. That's to make sure that we can see what each side is playing, what sort of tactics are they using, and to see what we can learn. If I were to use just one side, I don't think I could do it justice. Now, the Abrams from Audi are now pushing in. They are similar tanks, M1A1s. Actually, I wonder if this is a 1985 limited deck. No, it's not. M113A3s. So these are from 1987. This is 1989. No, he's definitely fighting under a limitation of 1985. Whereas Haymaker is. Haymaker loses his Rovates. The Abrams keep pushing. The Rovate are going to be hard-pressed to survive this. But look at how that mortar over there put up smoke. And by using the terrain, and this is really clever, I gotta remember this. By using this terrain, which is a sort of a valley, an artificial valley of sorts, because the highway is lower in the terrain, he's creating a sort of... I'm not even really sure how to describe this. A sort of valley of smoke, so that the M1A1s are safe behind that smoke screen, and that the infantry more or less can push in. M113s are trying to push forward, running right into the Zeldas, but not just the Zelda, because there's always also an M1A1 over there. Bit of a skirmish going on here. I don't think that the Rovite are going to be here for very long, but neither are the Riflemen. Standard Riflemen, not Rifleman 90. I know the Riflemen take a lot of shit, but apparently Audi doesn't seem to think that they're bad units. Or he's using them as some sort of screening unit. US Marines 90. Those are definitely better at dealing with vehicles with their AT4. But against a Merkava 2 with a grenade launcher, they're gonna be a little bit outgunned. They don't have anywhere to fall back to. So the only thing that they can do is more or less fall back into the smoke, as that's their only position of cover. Unfortunately, the smoke had just disappeared, but the mortar is already putting forward new smokes. Over in Gulf, we have another conflict waiting to happen, as a couple of the Martyr 1A2s and the M2A1 Bradleys are waiting to fight something. They're still not quite sure what, because they probably haven't spotted anything. There's also another Abrams here, and the AMX-10 is about to encounter the Riflemen. The Riflemen, interestingly, miss with 3 of their M72 laws, although the AMX-10 is a bit panicked and is falling back. Over on the far right, I'm not seeing anything yet. There's a defensive unit, or a defensive recon picket line in the form of a Leopard Verkenning, and an M2A1 Bradley, and that's it. No interior. Look at that. Use of a Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt flies in. I think it was able to take out the... what's it called? The Merkava 2. And I'm also down one M1A1 Abrams on Audi's side. The M1A1 from Haymaker seems to see that this is an opportunity to push forward. There's no resistance at the moment, although from his point of view, he doesn't know that. He can only see that there's nothing really on the road, but then again, he's relying on the Abrams optics only. So that could mean that there might be something lurking anywhere in these tree lines, and you wouldn't see it until it starts shooting at you. It seems like Gulf is currently under control of Haymaker. Audi can see that the M1A1 is pushing, but also that there is some sort of trouble over here. Beyond that, he doesn't see much. He can just see that we have some of the units over here, which we know is the Leopard Verkenning, and the Bradley. So you can see that Haymaker is already starting to scout out what sort of area is potentially weak. Note also how it is conquest, but the guys are not interested in taking points at the moment. Ooh, that was painful. That was the M1A1. They're not interested in taking points by the looks of it. I'm not seeing any new CVs being spawned in. It is just about control at the moment. Where Haymaker still has some ground forces, Audi is more relying on helicopters. We've got a Black Hawk, a DAP and a Longbow. And that might stop the M1A1 here. But similarly, the Chaparral... Oh, there we go. The Chaparral was able to stop the Longbow, but the Longbow killed the Chaparral just before it died. AMX-10RC still squaring off against the Rifleman. That's still the same AMX-10, by the way. Stinger's over here. He's spawning in a new Leopard Verkenning. Audi's bringing in a couple of ACAVs. And the Riflemen are more or less surrounded by an AMX-10 and the Rov-8. I don't think that the Riflemen are going to be surviving this for particularly long, and if they do, then the Panzer Grenadiers might be able to push in and kill them off. We have a small skirmish going on the right flank. M113 A3 being killed off by the Leopard Verkenning and the Bradley together. There is a Thunderbolt up here, and a Cobra that's about to scout out these units, and that could very well spell the doom of these guys, because once they get detected, that Thunderbolt makes a run for them. And yep, here we go, it's already coming in. It probably has them on... No, they're concealed. Ooh, close call. They're concealed now. Over towards the middle of the map. A couple of Zeldas from Haymaker are pushing. Once again, probing weakness. And just look at how many units Haymaker has when compared to Audi at the moment. You could say that based on the amount of units that Audi has at this point, which is just an AA unit, a squad of Rangers, and 2 ACAVs, that the battle is going to be over really very quickly. It looks like the Stinger was able to take out the Cobra, but not before the other 2 units over here got killed, which I think was down to the Thunderbolt, which was at some point circling around there. Now the Zelda pushes forward, hoping to find the TACOMs, but they get stopped by the ACAVs. ACAVs are always interesting units to see. They got a lot of HE for a tank. Their accuracy leaves a bit to be desired. Their rate of fire is alright for 30 points. And thank God they don't come with the Shillelagh, because that's such an atrociously bad ATGM. I really hate those things with a passion. Now Haymaker still tries to push in, and he might very well get away with it, judging on how many units he has, but the numbers don't tell everything, because the Roveit are about to encounter the M551s, and that's 5 HE per shot, so that's about half an infantry squad dead in one shot. Beyond that, the Roveit are the last line of defense against the M1A1s, which have just rolled over the Stingers. Roveit, M72 Law versus an M1 Abrams. I don't think that this is going to end particularly well for the Roveit, because while they can penetrate the armor, they can barely penetrate the armor on the M1A1. Sorry, no, it's an M1. Yeah, these guys are not going to win. Stormers with a Carl Gustav might have a slightly better chance, depending on how many shots they can get off before the M1 starts stunning them. In the middle, the Thunderbolts once again out in force. The Roveit have been killed off. And the Merkava is now facing off against not just the 551s, but also against an honest M1A2. That's a unit that Haymaker might have trouble covering, because he's limited by the M1A1s from 1985. This tank is a hell of a lot more powerful, with 24 AP and 22 frontal armor. The M1A1 can penetrate 19 points of armor, which is just a couple points short to get through the armor of the M1A2. An aircraft or a helicopter might be helpful, but beyond that, he is going to have a bit of a challenge on his hands trying to take down the M1A2. And I really like how Audi is still in this fight. It looked for a moment like he was going to lose, and lose pretty badly, because he lost a lot of units over here towards the middle. But he's still there, and he's making a comeback. The Rangers are gone, courtesy of the Merkava. The M1A2 is now under attack, and there comes the Thunderbolt from Haymaker, wiping out the M1A2. The aircraft does come to the rescue, and that leaves the Foxtrot sector quite vulnerable again, because now it's only being defended by a couple of riflemen and an M551. The M551 probably won't be there for much longer, because the Abrams is currently wiping out the riflemen and will then probably start shooting at the ACAV, which will result in just a cargo unit and maybe some Rangers being between this sector and the TACOM. There are new units being spawned in though. There's an M3A2 Bradley, and just look at how deep this AMX-10 RC has been getting into the enemy lines. Very impressive to see where he goes next. Is he going to continue towards the base? They have the fuel for that. The base is currently being defended by just a Stinger team, making sure there's no unexpected helicopter assaults. But aside from that, oh, there's a longbow. The longbow could very easily spot the AMX-10 RC and then wipe it out. There's also a, what I think is a flank defense here from Audi, Rifleman and then M113. Probably going to put those somewhere in these forests to make sure that this up ramp is going to be covered. We still have those 2 M1 Abrams over here. They are running a little low on fuel. That could become a problem later on. For now, I'd say that Haymaker has control of most of the map. He's not quite capitalizing on it yet. He's just trying to win the battle by the looks of it. And again, I could be wrong. I don't cover 1v1s a lot. And these guys are definitely ahead in their level of play. Far, far beyond me. I think that Haymaker currently is trying to play for terrain and not so much trying to play for points. I would have probably made the mistake already of investing a CV in order to capture, for example, Charlie or Delta or Echo and start to at least get that ticker going, making sure I get a few points. But not Haymaker. He is going for units, and lots of them, as you can see. M35's coming in, there's another Bradley inbound. And over here we have a cat and mouse between the Apache, the longbow, and the AMX-10RC. And the AMX-10RC, unfortunately, is the mouse. The cat reigns victorious, but then again, it was not a fair fight. I am fortunate, by the way, that not all cats carry hellfires. Since most cats appear to be out to kill humans anyway, that could end very difficult, or very different for us humans. Now, there's an assault going on, over here in Echo. Sorry, Foxtrot. Rangers on Rangers. But there are more Rangers coming in from Haymaker than Audi currently has. He is bringing in the Bradley that was parked over here for a moment. And that could more or less change the tide of the battle, depending on how accurate the fire support is. There's also a Nighthawk coming in, and the Nighthawk is dropping on the reinforcements. The reinforcement rangers are dead. The Bradley once again gets a couple of shots off on the TACOM, killing potentially one more officer. But the longbow and the A-10 were able to put a stop to this offensive. And at this point, the Rangers are going to be wiped out very quick, once again keeping the sector pretty safe. But what Haymaker has achieved is at least to make the TACOM move for a bit, which temporarily is going to make the supply lines for Audi a bit longer. And also, he's getting a couple of points. Now the cargo is close by, ready to supply the TACOMs with additional troops. So we're going to see the TACOMs immediately taking control of the sector again. And he's going to start spawning forces here again. There are some more forces coming in here. M113, potentially more riflemen. And I think they sent those to go here. CF-188 Hornet. You don't see these birds around a lot, by the way. 130-point jets. 7,700 meters on the AIM-7 Sparrows. And the AIM-9s, of course, are short-range missiles. They carry a lot of those. 6 short-range air-to-air missiles. 30% ECM, exceptional air detection. Time over target is a little over 2 minutes. Yeah, it's a decent jet. I probably wouldn't pick it, so if Haymaker is watching the video, I'm curious to see what his motivation is for picking the Hornet. Oh, sorry, that's... yeah, no, it is Haymaker. Haymaker also has his Thunderbolt out again, wiping out a unit that got spotted by the AMX-10RC. And since Audi does not have a lot of fire support in the form of anti-air, the Thunderbolt is able to operate completely unopposed. The only thing that it has to fear right now is running out of fuel, which it might do in some point, but for now it is capable of providing shorter range anti-air up until the point where Block 52 says, go home, you're not welcome in this airspace. Block 52 didn't particularly have to kill it, but just wipe it out or push it back. The other Thunderbolt also took a hit, but unfortunately the Hornet only has 2 longer range anti-air missiles. One was hitting, I think, or potentially hit the the fighter, the Block 52. The other one hit the Thunderbolt. Still, there's a push from Haymaker on the Rangers. The Rangers have the fortunate position of being in a building, so they have a bit of resistance versus the Rov-8. They are moving though. This could be the opportunity for the Rov-8 to push in, get the Rangers killed off, and then maybe make a move once again for the TACOM. But not if those reinforcements get here, and they're about to arrive. Are the reinforcements coming in from... No, not from Haymaker. That's going to take a while. Yeah, there we go. The riflemen are now in contact with the Rov-8. And the Rov-8 don't have a chance. Especially if that longbow also starts to join with the M230. This fight can be over very, very quickly. Interesting how far a Stinger got into the enemy lines over here. It has fired once, but if I'm not mistaken, then that was the kill that it got over here on the Cobra. There is another Cobra, but it seems almost like Audi knows where this guy is. Probably got spotted as it crossed the road. I don't know if it was the Apache that did that. Note how the Apache is landed, by the way. Interesting positioning with your tail rotor sticking out that far in the air. It was probably landed to avoid getting shot at by the CF-18. Because by doing that, the short-range air-to-air missiles couldn't hit the longbow. And that made this thing safe. It is a pretty big investment at 150 points. The Thunderbolt from Audi has been repaired. And is now back on target. I wonder what it's going to go for. It could be the Flak Panzer Gepard. And if it does, then the Flak Panzer really has no choice. What? Oh, man. Audi got exceptionally unlucky there. He fired 4 missiles, 2 at this Gepard, 2 at the other Gepard, and he missed everything. That was bad RNG right there. The longbow takes out the M1A1. The Gepard is now still in a position to try and do something against the Block 52. They damage it pretty badly, but it does make it out alive. The CF-188 is trying to support. Fires off a couple of longer range missiles and 2 shorts, but is unable to finally get the kill on that Block 52. So at this point, we have the 2 Flak Panzer Gepards, and the Flak Panzers might have eyes on the TACOM very soon, but the Rangers were able to take out one of the Flak Panzers. And unfortunately for this Flak Panzer, it is out of ammo. It cannot do anything else but, well, stand there, maybe run into something, get shot at, and do it as a sort of force recon, the same way that you potentially send forward an empty transport, just to see what happens. Tank skirmish. M1A1 kills another M1A1. I'm not sure how he got that kill off that quick. It seemed like it almost got it killed in one shot, but that was, by the orientation of that tank, not a side shot as far as I'm able to discern. So I don't exactly know how he was able to do that. New infantry offensive coming in from Haymaker. The Zeldas are rushing in, dropping off their infantry probably only at the last moment, very close to the Rangers. Unfortunately, the moment is now too late. The Rov 8 have survived. The other Zelda keeps going. And there we go. The Rov 8 are now behind enemy lines, dropping off into a building. And now the Rangers are taking fire from the Rov 8 and the Zelda. Unfortunately, the Nighthawk is still around. And the Nighthawk cuts down this offensive very quickly, leaving just the Rov 8. The Riflemen escaping from their M113. They're starting to push in, and once again, I think we're going to see a quick demise of these Rov 8. Because they keep operating behind enemy lines, and Audi is very effective at constantly stopping these offensives. The offensive just gets shut down very quick, either by a Thunderbolt, insofar as those things survive, or by a Nighthawk, or by combined forces of the longbow, the Cobras. I saw a tank roll in earlier that got killed off quick. Lots of opportunities. Now the Abrams and the Flak Panzer Gepard have been pulled back. They were so close to the TACOM, but not quite able to proceed. Because once that longbow started showing up, and the Gepard got out of ammo, it was better to retreat than to stay there. An Amphibill is going to be providing much needed supplies. Also potentially some repairs for the M1A1, although that might not be at the top of the list. Riflemen are now pushing back into the Stinger teams. And, oh, we got a helicopter here. AH-1S. Oh, they got him! They got the TACOM. Almost suicidal by the Gazelle, the way he's pushing in. But the result has been achieved. The objective has been completed. The command infantry in Foxtrot is dead, which puts Haymaker at a +1, but more importantly, cuts off the supply lines into Foxtrot. At this point, Haymaker is trying to run the AH-1S back, but the Block 52 says that's not going to happen. It almost gets... Yep, he got it. Flak Panzer Gepard takes down the Block 52. And the Tomcat didn't really have a target. There is another Bradley killed off. This is such a close match. This can still very much go either way. I would say currently that Haymaker is in a better position. But as we have seen, Audi was pushed back to Foxtrot at least once already. And came back. So it's probably not going to be the end of the match. It will all depend on how well he manages his forces. Another skirmish here between Stormers and Riflemen. Cobra looks to be providing support, but might not quite yet have its targets There we go. Now it does. I don't think it knows quite where the enemy is, so it just fires off a couple of grenades, and that's enough motivation for the Stormers to start falling back. It's a dangerous game here with the Cobra, because the Stormers are armed with some pretty impressive weaponry. They don't really have a chance of one-shotting the Cobra. I mean, it's not stingers or anything, but they will be able to do some damage against it with machine guns. Longbow, almost out of ammo and out of fuel. I'm not sure where he's hoping to go. Note, by the way, how he does not have a fob. Haymaker does. And he seems to have used a bit of it. As for base defenses, he has a couple of 163 CS and a Flak Panzer Gepard, which is active. Normally, I argue, don't keep your AA active. But in this case, I don't think it's going to be a bad situation, because I don't think we're going to see a seed aircraft go either through the middle or flying all the way around in order to get this Flak Panzer. So in this case, definitely leave it on. But then again, these guys are better players than I am. I know when I've been outmatched. There is a Raven. Jesus. I say that and we see a seed aircraft flying. It looks like Audi is going for air dominance at this point. Block 52 and a Tomcat. Oh, the longbow is so vulnerable at this point. If that Hornet from Haymaker was ready, I think he'd try to take out the longbow at this point. Because it is such a dangerous target and you don't have a lot of them. So he's gonna have to try and nail it when he can. At this point, even the aircraft are trying to do gun runs on the Panzer Grenadier. They were able to fire off, at least the Tomcat was able to fire off some shots, but I don't know if they actually hit the Panzer Grenadier. Panzer Grenadier against a bunch of worried riflemen. They might not win this. And by the looks of it, there's still no CV from Audi on the way. Audi is pushing in with the rifleman and a tank. These guys have their hands full, the Stormers. They're wiping out both the riflemen, but also seemingly trying to move towards the Abrams. One squad just got killed. Carl Gustav at the ready. I don't think this is going to go the way for the Stormers. No, they're stunned. But there is another Merkava 2 and Rovait, which are ready to take up the slack. Panzer Grenadiers have wiped out most of the riflemen, leaving just these 4 and a bunch of US Marines. The Marines, however, are caught in the open as a bunch of Zeldas roll in. Machine guns at the ready, wiping out the US Marines before they can get to a position of cover. And they're about to... yeah, there we go. There's more Rovait, which have been dropped off. Target down. M1A1 in a decent position to help out, up until the point where that longbow comes back in. And more worryingly, the Nighthawk's back in. Drops. Uh-oh. Wipes out the Merkava. Killing off another very dangerous anti-tank / anti-infantry unit. The Merkava 2 over here seems to be hunting down the M1. With its gun, it should be able to do that in about one shot, especially considering the weakened state of the M1. But that's about the last thing that it will do, because it's about to run out of fuel. Beyond that M1, the only units from Audi which are surviving over here are a Stinger and an M113. Beyond that, there's nothing. A couple of resupply units coming in, some amphibials. H1S being brought in. I wonder what he's going to try to hunt down. We might need those Itos very, very soon, because an M1A2 is on the way. And I think that with the current state of affairs and Audi's air dominance, it's going to be very dangerous for the A10 from Haymaker to come in to try and deal with that M1A2. Haymaker's now at a solid +1, which is going to be hard to dislodge for Audi at the moment. I think, however, that this thing is going to be relying on its own spotting capability to find the M1A2. These have poor optics, so they're going to be relying on something else to do their spotting. They might get close enough to the M1A2 that the M1A2 will start opening up with the machine guns. In which case, it could be anybody's bet how that's going to go, but I think it's going to go the way of the M1A2 up until the point where the H1S runs away. There's still a surviving group of riflemen here behind the lines. Right now they're not too much of a threat. If they walk towards the Flak Panzer Gepard, they might kill it, because the Gepard's turned off, but they'll also give their position away. And beyond that, they don't have any of their M72 laws left. They can't fire, they can't kill. Longbow has been resupplied with one whole... Actually, has it been? No, it's been repaired. It hasn't been resupplied. It's been repaired, and it's being sent out back into the field, probably more as a spotter than anything else. It looks like the helo got killed off, that AH-1S that we saw. Unsurprising, because of the air control that Audi has. There's also a Thunderbolt rolling in. Where are you hoping to go? Flak Panzer Gepard. Radar turned off. Cannot be detected by the Raven. But it could be spotted by the Rifleman. Depending on how far it's pushing out. Thunderbolt rolls in and kills a Chaparral. Note how he immediately turns off the missiles. He really micromanages where those missiles are going to hit. Or rather, what those missiles are going to hit. He's prepping a gun run? On what though? Because you don't have any optics. There's a new CV currently being spawned in. Looking to go potentially into Delta. He's currently bringing it into Bravo. He's also relocating the Nachmachon. He might be packing up his Hapak and bring those over to a different sector later. It looks like the position from the Roveet and the Panzergrenadiers is about to be threatened by the M1A2, US Marines, but more importantly, LVTP-7A1s. I think that the LVTP-7A1s in this case are a much bigger threat than the infantry, because of those grenade launchers. Also, perfect use of a smoke here. This is creating a position where the M1A2 can fall back to, in case we see an A-10 come in. Although again, there are still 2 aircraft on patrol. The Block 52, the Raven, the Nighthawk has just dropped on top of the Panzergrenadiers. Here comes the counterattack. Small engagement here between the Cobra and the Roveet, nothing serious. Look at that, Foxtrot has been cleansed. No more units from Haymaker survive. Karyu Hawk sends a missile right into the Thunderbolt. This thing has a radar malfunction and probably is going to need a bit of duct tape and some fast glue. What's that? What's the term for that in English? In Dutch we call it secondenlijm. It's glue which hardens in seconds. I'm not sure what the official English term for that is. Looks like the Leopard for Kenning might be trying to spot whatever has not been found yet in Gulf. There we go, that's the transport, and the Stingers don't stand a chance. But similarly, the tank does not really stand a chance if the Longbow is able to land that last Hellfire that it has on board. And there is a Karyu Hawk. Decent range against helicopters. Oh, we got an aerial assault. Hornet wipes out the Tomcat without breaking a sweat. Maybe because the Tomcat was not focused on going for the Hornet, but was focused on going for the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt loses half its hit points. And seems to be trying to assist the M1A1, which is having a really hard time trying to fend off against an M1A2. Doesn't win, pretty much as expected. But with a lack of reconnaissance, it's hard for this Thunderbolt to actually contribute to the fight. The AMX-10RC is probably going to kill it off very quickly. There you go. Uh-oh. Okay, the Thunderbolt was withdrawn in time. Look at how well Audi has played this. He's back in this fight. He's back in the sector. Courtesy of the Black Hawk, which was able to bring in the command infantry. However, the amount of points could be bad for Audi. Because there's a new CV over here. And the Nachmachon has been sent to pick up the infantry again and go on the move. Where are you going? Is he going to Delta? Yeah, looks to be going to Delta. Not a lot in that sector, just a couple of Karyu Hawks. If the infantry and even the transports go on the move, they could find that these sectors are very, very empty. There is, however, only 9 minutes left. At this point, Haymaker will undoubtedly win. And there is not much that Audi can do about that, beyond go for a very heavy push, trying to capture a lot of sectors, or wipe out all the command infantry units, or command units. Flak Panzer Gepard valiantly trying to empty its magazines into a transport. Up until the point where the rifleman took them out. Oh, what do we have here? That's the lonely Apache. The Apache which just has one Hellfire left. If this thing is trying to make it towards the base, he's going to get greeted by M163s and the Flak Panzer Gepard. It's a risky venture, but I think Audi is running out of options here. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really enjoying this 1 versus 1. If you have a 1 versus 1, let me know. Send it in. Link down below in the description. I think these make for excellent battles because they're so close. Oh, look at this. I didn't even capture this. The Leopard for Kenning was able to wipe out the command infantry unit over here. Unless Audi sent his Black Hawk there with the command infantry. But I'm thinking that the Leopard might have gotten it. So that means that that air dominance that Audi had is no longer a possibility. All those aircraft are now locked down. Oh, he's skirting around the edges. Is the longbow actually going to get the command vehicle here? It has excellent optics. It doesn't need to get too close in order to spot the command vehicle. Where are you going? At this point it's getting quite close to the Gepard. Oh, be careful, longbow. Be careful. Does he know it's there? He doesn't! Now he spots it. He has already spotted it previously with his picket line here. But I think he's too busy managing the middle to find... And there we go. There's the last Hellfire. And it strikes the CV. Alpha's neutral. That's going to be the last thing that longbow ever does. Flak Panzer Gepard, however, was too late in saving its own command vehicle. Haymaker, however, is still at a +1. Because I think it was the CV that Audi has sent over. No, actually, sorry. It's a new CV that came in from here to recapture Hotel. And there's another CV similarly on the move from Haymaker trying to get back to Alpha. Still, Haymaker has that +1 ticking from Delta. But that is being threatened. Because while I was covering the Apache, Haymaker is trying to do a desperate defense over here against Riflemen, M1A2, lots and lots more Riflemen, 2 M1s, US Marines. The only thing that he does not really have is air power. Or rather, anti-air power. There's just one Stinger here. Unfortunately, at this point of the battle, the air spawn from Haymaker is disabled. So as much as aircraft could change the tide of the battle, it's not possible, because he can't spawn them in. Alternatively, Audi does have his air spawn back. He has a Raven, a Thunderbolt, and a Block 52 all out on patrol. And the Thunderbolt is, depending on how aggressively those Carrier Hawks are positioned, able to almost go to town in the way that I think it was designed. It's capable of just wiping out as many units as possible, close air support, and it really doesn't have that much to fear beyond that Carrier. And the Carrier is probably properly motivated not to turn on the radar. The moment that it does, it gets detected by the Raven. It sends out one missile after the Raven, but got, I think, killed off by the Abrams here, the M1A2. Leaving this sector completely devoid of anti-air. Now, with Foxtrot and Hotel being captured, and it looks like Echo is about to get captured as well by Audi, Audi is now taking a +1. If he's able to push through with the Rifleman and wipe out the Hapak, he's going to be at a +2. Which, with just 4 minutes left in this battle, is not going to be enough. But it is definitely a hell of a comeback. The way that Audi just keeps fighting, no matter how much he's been pushed back, is admirable. It's the complete opposite of what you see when you have a 10v10. And you see that after the first 2 minutes of the game, somebody has lost all their toys and just immediately quits. Nighthawk. Oh, the Nighthawk is splitting his bombs? Yep. Where's that going? I think the Nighthawk dropped one over here, and the second one over there, which could very well be the position where a CV was hiding out. Fortunately, the CV is in an actually somewhat unpredictable location, sitting in the middle of the road, having just come over that bridge, and all it needs to do is capture the sector. So actually not being there in a more predictable position very much helped. Thunderbolt, oh dear. Thunderbolt is under heavy attack by the Block 52. Just note how much that Block 52 fired though. 4 AMRAAMs and 2 AIM-9Ms. Some of them hit, some of them missed, but the Thunderbolt is still here. That's what you get when you put armor on an aircraft. It's such a survivable thing. The Block 52 is bingo. No more fuel, no more weapons. It's out. Haymaker, however, with the Thunderbolt, wipes out the M1A2. Oh my god. This legend of a Thunderbolt. Well done. So that almost completely negates the push on Delta. But it's not quite done yet. Because the 2 M1s over here can still kill off the command. Similarly, we have another offensive over here from an AMX-10RC. And it's looking to kill the command unit over here, the TACOM. Where are you going? Oh, hold on. Is he trying to go for the base again? Not with a flight of Cobras up here, though. They'll see it and they'll wipe it out. There we go. Thunderbolt did it. And the Thunderbolt also wipes out a second offensive by a Leopard Verkenning. Another Leopard Verkenning tries to do a bit of a recon run into Echo. Unable to do so, he encounters Riflemen and has to start falling back. The Riflemen, however, are not quite in range with their laws. So for the moment, the Verkenning, as long as it stays in range where it can spot, is able to do some damage. In the meanwhile, Audi wipes out the command unit. And that puts him at a +1. There's also a flight of helicopters coming in. Cobras and a Little Bird. Those look like they're about to cruise right towards the base, or, maybe worse, into Bravo. What's the intended direction of travel? Where do you want to go? What's the plan here? Now that CV is suddenly not in such a good position. He's falling back with the CV, trying to keep it safe. Stinger might be able to do something against these helos. Hits the Cobra once. And hits him again. There you go, that's the Cobra down. But in the meanwhile, the other CV is very much at risk. Grenades are striking all around it. And there goes the CV. The Nighthawk was, I think, trying to get the CV killed over here. And this was very close. Because if this CV dies, and they're still somehow able to kill that one, then Audi can still win it. Audi still at a +2. It's unfortunately too late for him. He won't be able to get this, to get the game. Unless he's able to kill the last CV, but I don't think that's happening in the last 40 seconds. HGM kills the tank. Bravo is more or less secure again. The CV, however, is on full retreat. And trying to turn it around now is basically worthless. Because it's not likely to do anything at this stage. I think Audi might try to blind drop the CV. Hoping to find it. But that is not where it is. And is that the end of the Nighthawk? Yeah, I think it is. Yep, the Nighthawk plummets to Earth and immediately splinters upon impact. And that's the game. Audi as a +3. But not enough. Total defeat for Audi, total victory for Haymaker. This was such a fantastic game. Haymaker, thank you so much for sending this in. This was epic, and I hope you guys agreed with that. Now, there's no real kill-death ratio to go through, or kill-death list, because I was switching from neutral to Haymaker to Audi, and that constantly resets the list. What I can do is show you guys the deck. Alright, here it is. Haymaker's deck. This is what he had in his arsenal. He was blue for mech, 1985. What you might argue is a bit of a weird deck, because you're cutting yourself off from quite a lot of the higher value units. The units that we did see the other guy use. We saw him use the M1A2, we saw him use the Block 52, the longbow. All of that stuff Haymaker does not have access to. What he does have access to is a whole bunch of different types of infantry. Note how he has Rovate in the Merkava 2A, as well as the Zelda, and we saw a lot of these guys come in. We saw some Stormers, we saw, I think, the Stingers here and there. And I think every choice here for units has been properly and carefully considered. Because the Stinger is anti-air, of course, and the Bradley, you pay 40 points for it, but I think in a conquest game like this, you still have some points. This is able to go for ground forces. So for 40 points, you're getting a combination that can go for both ground and air. Similar for other units, probably. Now, he has only one unit of tanks. Just the M1A1s. Beyond that, he uses nothing, with the exception of the Leopard Verkenning, and to great success, the AMX 10RC. We've seen quite a few of these. Also a couple of Rangers that we saw. We saw that Ranger on Ranger fight in the game. The BGS seemed to be mostly there as a picket line, not really a unit that they were using, or that he was using to try and actually engage somebody else. But mostly there's a cheap picket line, it's 15 points and that's it. We saw the one Suicidal Gazelle fly over the command infantry, and that allowed other units from the helicopter tab, I think, the AH-1S, to wipe it out. So that was a good combination as well. Air tab, 2 Kernus. I didn't see these. I'm not sure if he used them or not, but I didn't see them. 2 Hornets, a Raven, and a Thunderbolt. Note how there's no fast anti-tank aircraft. There's no F-18 Hornets or similar aircraft, which can swoop in, fire a couple of Mavericks, and immediately pull out again. It's a slow unit, a slow aircraft, and I think that this deck is specifically set up for ranked, not so much for other types of conflicts. Because I think that it might not be that effective in, for example, a 10v10 tactical. Vehicles, fire support vehicles, a couple of the CSs that we saw defending the base. Not terribly effective at defending the base, because that one Apache was still able to fly around and get the kill. I didn't see these, but they are interesting units to use. AMX 40s, sorry, AMX HOTS, Ontos, and the CEV. Didn't see this one either. I think at some point I did see the Ontos drive by. Just a whole bunch of recoilless rifles getting ready to start hammering targets. These things run out incredibly quick. They only have 18 rounds of ammunition and they fire 13 rounds a minute. But I don't think that they live long enough, generally. They don't have enough time to survive in order to get all those weapons to fire. Beyond that, did I forget a category? Oh, NTR / support. Chaparral, Flakpanzer Gepard A, no, not even the A1, just the Flakpanzer Gepard base. Carrier Hawk, and the HS-30. That's the deck. I'll put the deck also in the description down below, so you can copy it and use it to your own effect. Again, I think it is a ranked deck, specifically set out to be one of those. I might be mistaken though, but if Haymaker is around in the comment section, he might be able to shed some light on that. Right, with that I'm going to end the video. I immensely enjoyed this gameplay and I hope you did too. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. And I hope to be seeing more 1v1s from you guys. Be sure to send those in. Link in the description. Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend. And I shall see you guys soon for more videos.